Cyclospora is a microscopic parasite that can cause prolonged watery diarrhea, stomach cramps, fatigue, nausea, and loss of appetite. In this presentation, we will look at the current lettuce outbreak, why washing produce may not completely remove the parasite, how heat can destroy it, the standard medical treatment, and what laboratory research tells us about several traditional herbs. Natural remedies should be discussed honestly, because laboratory activity does not necessarily mean that an herb can cure Cyclospora in people. CDC and FDA are investigating a 2026 Cyclospora outbreak linked to shredded iceberg lettuce served at some Taco Bell locations in Indiana, Kentucky, Michigan, Ohio, and West Virginia. At the time of this report, 1,644 illnesses and 94 hospitalizations had been identified, with no deaths reported. The illnesses began between May 13th and July 13th, 2026. Because outbreak numbers can change, viewers should check the latest CDC and FDA notices. FDA's traceback investigation found that the shredded iceberg lettuce served at the affected Taco Bell locations converged on one supplier, Taylor Farms de Mexico. On July 17, 2026, the company voluntarily removed all iceberg lettuce sourced from central Mexico from the United States market and initiated a recall. The recall included lettuce supplied to food service customers as well as certain retail products. A lettuce sample was initially reported as positive for Cyclospora. After FDA laboratory experts re-reviewed the test, they determined that it was a false positive. However, FDA stated that this did not change the traceback evidence linking the outbreak to the recalled lettuce. The recall remained in effect, and investigators continued collecting and testing additional samples. Washing fresh produce under clean running water is still an important food safety practice because it can reduce dirt and some contamination. However, washing cannot guarantee that Cyclospora has been removed, and routine chemical washes or sanitizers are unlikely to kill the parasite. Never try to make recalled lettuce safe by washing it with water, vinegar, baking soda, iodine, or chlorine. If a product has been recalled, throw it away and clean any surfaces it touched. Cyclospora can be killed by sufficient heat. CDC recommends cooking produce to an internal temperature of at least 158 degrees Fahrenheit or 70 degrees Celsius. Raw lettuce remains a concern because it is normally eaten without cooking. However, never try to rescue a recalled product by heating it. Recalled lettuce should be discarded according to the official instructions. The treatment of choice for Cyclospora infection is trimethoprim-sulfamethoxazole, commonly shortened to TMP-SMX. It is sold under brand names including Bactrim, Septra, and Cotrim. For adults with a normally functioning immune system, the usual treatment lasts 7 to 10 days. People living with HIV may need a longer course. This is a prescription medication, and anyone with a sulfa allergy must discuss treatment alternatives with a healthcare professional. Before discussing individual herbs, it is important to separate laboratory findings from proven medical treatment. A substance may affect a parasite in a test tube or animal study and still fail to work safely in people. No herbal product is currently recommended by CDC to eliminate Cyclospora. Herbs and parasite cleanses should not replace stool testing, hydration, or medical care. The established treatment of choice remains TMP-SMX. Huang Lian is the traditional Chinese name for herbs from the Coptis family. One of its major active compounds is berberine. In laboratory studies, berberine inhibited the growth of several protozoan parasites, including Giardia, Entamoeba, and Trichomonas, and caused visible structural changes in those organisms. However, these were test tube findings involving parasites other than Cyclospora. Huang Lian and berberine have not been proven to eliminate Cyclospora infection in people and should not replace established medical treatment. Artemisia annua, often called sweet wormwood, contains artemisinin-related compounds. Purified artemisinin derivatives are well-established medicines against the malaria parasite, but they are used in carefully formulated combination treatments, not as ordinary wormwood supplements. Researchers have also studied these compounds against several other protozoan and worm parasites. However, wormwood or artemisinin has not been proven to treat Cyclospora infection, and it should not replace stool testing, hydration, or prescribed medical care. Black walnut hull is a traditional ingredient in many commercial parasite cleanses. Walnut tissues contain tannins and a compound called juglone. In one animal study, purified juglone reduced the number of Schistosoma mansoni worms in infected mice. However, this involved an isolated compound, a different parasite, and an animal model, not black walnut hull treatment in people. There is no reliable human evidence that black walnut hull eliminates Cyclospora, so it should not replace medical testing, hydration, or prescribed treatment. Mimosa pudica is often marketed as a parasite cleansing herb, especially in products made from its seeds. Most antiparasitic research has involved laboratory experiments or infected animals, with an emphasis on intestinal worms rather than human protozoan infections. One mouse study found only weak activity against a gastrointestinal nematode compared with the standard drug albendazole. Cyclospora is a single-celled parasite, not a worm, and there is no clinical evidence that Mimosa pudica eliminates Cyclospora in people. Morinda citrifolia, commonly called noni, has been studied for possible antiparasitic effects. In one mouse study, noni fruit juice reduced the parasite burden of Leishmania amazonensis. Laboratory studies have also reported effects against other forms of Leishmania. However, Leishmania is a very different parasite from Cyclospora, and these findings do not show that noni treats Cyclospora diarrhea in people. Noni should not replace hydration, stool testing, or prescribed medical treatment. The practical takeaway is that laboratory findings about herbs may be scientifically interesting, but none of these products has been proven to cure Cyclospora infection in people. Anyone with persistent watery diarrhea should maintain fluids, seek appropriate stool testing, and contact a healthcare provider. TMP-SMX remains the treatment of choice. Because it contains a sulfa antibiotic, people with a sulfa allergy need an individualized treatment plan rather than attempting to treat themselves with herbal cleanses.